welcome to Laborland. I am Sharon Ijason. On this week's episode of the program, we'll continue our discussion on the welfare of workers in Benue State. But first, let's take the news. We will be right back. It's the 27th Industrial Relations Seminar, and members of the National Union of Chemical, Footwear, Rubber, Leather and Non-Metallic Products Employees are excited about the opportunity to participate in the industrial training. At the seminar, Executive Secretary of CAMPEF spoke on the theme of this course chosen for the 2018 training, tagged Building Human Resources Capacity for Effective Industrial Relations Practice in a Challenging Economy. According to him, it's apt and timely, considering the challenges facing the manufacturing sector, which are threatening sustainability of harmonious industrial relations system.
Upgrading our HR capacity. Our HR that they say is not about human resources department, it's about all of us who work in an organization. So to be able to come with the economic challenges and have an effective HR practice, have an effective industrial relations practice in place, the quality of human resources need to be improved. Now, the parties in industrial relations in the country are the workers and organizations, which are the unions, the employers and associations, e.g. the federation, and government and its agencies. So in other words, when we talk about HR capacity, we're talking about the workers, the employers, and the government, and all their representatives improving their capacity, their knowledge. The enterprise people who understand the theory and practice of industrial relations. And we're looking at those who have the following competencies. Knowledge of labor relations laws, knowledge of union management relations, knowledge of how to handle conflict, because it's an increasing conflict in the country, knowledge of negotiation skills. These are some of the competencies that we all need to have knowledge of.
Our industrial union is one of the most peaceful industrial unions in the country. We believe in following procedures when we are doing industrial relations matter. You can see this is the 27th of it, and it accepts a lot of people.
It is very important when things are normal, like as it used to be, you don't need to devote much energy on issue of retraining because everything is going normal. But when you find yourself in an economy that is depressed, then there are some certain things you need to retrain people to adjust. Otherwise, you can't get the same results using the same method under a different environment and think that you get a good result. So the beauty of development and retraining is for people to adopt to the new situations we find ourselves. And in doing that, it will go a long way in addressing some of the industrial harmony that is required. It's a panacea for a progress of industry.
The president of the National Union of Chemical, Footwear, Rubber, Leather and Non-Metallic Products Employees, Comrade Babatunde Olatunji, while delivering his speech, said the unstable economic policies in the country requires workers to reevaluate their skills. He urged the federal government to ensure economic policies are worker-friendly. Olatunji added that economic growth can be achieved if the federal government discourage high interest rates, multiple taxation, and improve on infrastructures.
Government policies are, however, too strict on manufacturing sector, thereby affecting their effectiveness. An example is the ban on production and importation of codeine and tramadol because of its abuse, without considering the implication of the action on the health of genuine users, who use them for treating mild and severe pains arising from bone complications. The action also adversely affects the pharmaceutical companies who are using it for the production of other drugs. I believe the best solution would have been to outlaw its sales over the counter and ensure its strict compliance by the appropriate law enforcement agency.
The national body of the union condemned the delay in the 2018 budget implementation, which they believe is essential in achieving socio-economic growth.
The president of the Association of Senior Staffs of Banks, Insurance and Financial Institutions, Comrade Onyeko Olasonye, has called on the Minister of Labour and Employment, Dr. Chris Ngige, to inaugurate the board of the Nigerian Social Insurance Trust Fund to curb corruption and protect workers' benefits. According to her, many employers are beginning to lose trust in the management of workers' pension fund. She also added that the social scheme has been beneficial to both workers and employers of labor. Not inaugurating the board, according to Onyeko, is going against the act that put NSITF in place.
There are some decisions that need to be taken, they are not being taken. Also of recent, when our member, that's why we are making it our concern. We are not part of the boardroom politics, but our concern is that some of our members, now because of the way the minister have announced to the whole world that he is not putting in place a board because there was fraudulent practices in the fund. So when our members that are in marketing department operations go out now to ask for contribution toward the fund, they are being chased out. That the one we have contributed before now, you people have stolen it. We don't want to contribute. They have never been bought since the administration of President Buhari. So it means the board was in the previous year. So now, when there was a board and a permanent secretary was representing the minister, there was fraud. Now the minister is not inaugurating another board. It means a single person, maybe the managing director or whoever, will be the person in control. Then we now say that when there are more people, there will be better understanding.
Interview segment this week, I will be speaking with the governor of Benue State, Governor Samuel Ortom. He tells me in this interview that he's up to date with the 2018 salary payment for workers, but still owes a backlog of salaries from 2017. Join me. It's good to have you on the program.
Thank you.
A lot is happening in Benue State, but I'm more concerned about the workers' welfare. I would like to ask you, what are the plans you have to actually offset the huge wage bill that you're faced with? Because I am sure from my findings that the teachers and local government workers are most affected. What are the plans you have in place to ensure that the salary backlog is actually paid?
Payment of salaries is a major challenge to my government since the inception. The challenge was there before I came in. I took over this government with arrears of salaries, pension, and gratuity to the tune of over 69 billion naira. Then trying to cope has been a major challenge. But I must first of all appreciate the Benue worker for their understanding, for their cooperation, and for the encouragement they have given me to this level. I have done my best in terms of trying to source funds to also clear these arrears, because I I know that a worker deserves his wages. And from my antecedents, I have never failed. Right from 1991 to 1993, when I was a local government chairman, I made sure that workers received their dues, even in the midst of hardship. And of course, I received several awards from several workers' organizations because of my passion for workers and ensuring that they receive their pay. So most of our workers understand me very well. But I must say that their cooperation and understanding has been a result of my transparent manner I have handled the finances of the state, because I chose to ensure that my workers are aware of what comes in and what goes out. So information is available, and that is what has led to our relative peace, industrial harmony within the state. But it has been a major challenge trying to clear 69 billion within 3 years and then coping with the challenge ahead of us. But let me say that today in Nigeria, Benue State remains the third highest in terms of payment of salary. Lagos is the highest. If you take, for instance, a director, they receive an average of 345,000. And of course, you know how much they make as IGR and other things as a state that was a former capital and a commercial city of Nigeria, and then followed by Rivers State that takes an average of 285,000. And of course, there too, you know how much the IGR they get. Now, coming to Benue, which is number 3, a director takes 280,000. And our IGR is an average of 500 million naira. So when you put the federal allocation and the IGR put together, we're not able to cope. When we came in, we had a wage bill of, we inherited a wage bill of 8.2 billion. And because of my passion for workers, the teachers were crying for minimum wage even before I was elected governor. Then I immediately decided that teachers should also receive minimum wage. See, these two took the wage bill higher. There was an increase of about 300 million, which made the wage bill to be 8.5. But through screening and blocking of leakages, we were able to bring it back to 7.8. That is inclusive pension and overheads. So you're talking about 7.8 billion naira wage bill a month. And you recall that we just came out of a recession. During that recession, from the Federation account, we had an average of 5 billion naira and an average of 500 million naira IGR, and then trying to cope with this kind of a challenge. For instance, if you had 5 billion, you had a deficit of over 2.8 billion naira a month. This is largely responsible for the accumulation of the arrears that we have today. Otherwise, through bailout, through federal government intervention of Paris Club and budget support, we've been able to drastically reduce the wage bill, but the accumulation as a result of the shortfall that we get every month is largely responsible for these arrears of salary at the state level, which is 7 months, at the local government and teachers, which is 11 months as of today. But what we did was, we say there must be a change by last year when we realized that we needed to do something. So at the beginning of the year, we decided that every other project must stop. So what we're doing today, from January to date, is basically paying salaries. Because we concluded that, well, if you construct a bridge or a road and you have no one to walk or make use of the bridge, it doesn't make sense. So the workers must get their pay. But definitely, this wage bill is very high. We have paid up to date, and despite this challenge, one thing we have done, which is very important because of our passion for education, Benue State University, which takes an average of 600 million every month, has been paid up to date. And this is the challenge we have. But we are doing our best. We have succeeded in paying from January to July. We're still doing some screening to see if we can still bring down the wage bill. But at the same time, we are sourcing money wherever it comes now, because our main project as of today is to ensure that we pay salaries. Because Benue State is a civil service state, and when salaries are not paid, it becomes a very major problem. While we have succeeded in paying up to date from January, we are sourcing money to make sure that we pay the arrears.
From what you just told me now, it's obvious that Benue State actually has a huge wage bill to pay. I've read in the papers and I've also seen some of the press releases issued by the Benue State government that there is a committee that was set up to ensure that workers are verified. Can you tell us what the outcomes of this committee was?
Yeah, that committee brought a lot of issues, but also brought a lot of apprehension from the people. Several people were dropped as a result of the screening because our emphasis in setting that committee was to ensure that every worker who is genuine and is working should earn his pay at the end of the month. But those who do not work should not also earn anything, because the Bible says the worker deserves his wages. But those who do not work should not also eat. So when we implemented this, because the local government systems, for instance, where you have large number of workers that were recruited by successive administration, they hardly go to work. For instance, my own local government is a rural local government, and you have about 900 staff, and you hardly see 50 go to work every day. They only come to collect pay, and when they are screening, they come. So we decided to draw a line, but as a democratic government, there was huge cry from the people. If we had implemented that, maybe we would be comfortable, but for a state that is basically sustained by civil service, this economy in the state is basically driven by civil service and supported by peasant farming. So it's a big challenge. There were huge cry from religious leaders, from traditional rulers, from stakeholders, from party men and women, that we have to make adjustment. So we just had to listen to them and find a way. And they told me it is better to owe than sending people away, because allowing them to be idle, they can take into wayward life, which not. And I'm a listening governor, and when people talk to me, even though I have strong feelings on certain things, but I still go along with them. But honestly, it is a big burden to me. If I had my way of disengaging and engaging some of our workers, I will do that, and I believe that I would have been comfortable, because when I was setting the committee, my target was to bring the wage bill down, including overheads and pension, to a maximum of 5 billion naira. If I had done this, if I have an allocation of 8 billion, for instance, for state and local government every month, the 3 billion would have been used to do other things. Then you pay 5 billion, but that has not been the case. So it's a big challenge to me.
I've been to Kogi, I've been to Kaduna, and I know that they have similar cases of which Benue State is faced with at the moment. And some of them have actually resorted to wage cuts or retrenchment of workers. I would like to ask you, why is this not an option for you or for your government?
Well, like I said, I won't talk for other states, but I talk for my state. How passionate I am when they make demands of me to take certain action and direction. Because I believe that democracy is about doing what the people want. And when we are invited to do those things, we work with them. So it is a challenge, but I have to manage it with the people because they have accepted it. One good thing that I must appreciate the workers and Benue people is that you cannot accuse me of diverting money, whether bailout or budget support or anything. The records are there for anyone who is interested to try to find out what the challenge is.
There's a clamor for a new minimum wage, and workers are really excited and are hoping for a new amount of money to be earned. And with the way the committee is working, there's every possibility that by September there might be a new minimum wage. Owing to the fact that Benue State has a huge wage bill, do you see a possibility of meeting up with these new amounts that might come up before the year runs out?
Well, I think this is where the workers themselves will have to sit down and review the salary structure we have today in Benue State vis-a-vis what is happening in other parts of our country. Like I said, if a director is taking 280,000 naira here in Benue State and is the third highest in the whole country, where other states are taking less than 100 a director. You can imagine from the statistics we have, check Kaduna, check Kano State. Kaduna is taking less than 120,000 a director. And then Kano, 150,000. Other states, less than 100,000, the statistics of a director. Now, maybe those ones can afford, but honestly, it will be difficult for us to talk about minimum wage now. But these are things that we can sit down. The truth is that when the labor leaders at the national level saw the challenge we had there, they came in. And the workers went on strike. I invited them, we sat down, we discussed, and they too appreciated it. They thought that the wage bill was overbloated or we had something to hide. But at the end, they went into the books themselves. They saw that truly there is a challenge in Benue State. And they offered that, look, this committee that you have set up, let them go ahead and do the work. At the end of the committee, we can come sit down because we have the knowledge of what is happening in other parts of the country. We can now sit down with you and see how we can manage the situation and come out with a figure that can be sustainable and work. That is what is ongoing. A committee has been set up by the leaders of the National Union, Labor Union, and then the state government. So they are working together. The only challenge we had was the committee we set up here was yet to complete its work. But I believe that in the next couple of weeks, they should round up because I have given them a marching order to conclude the work so that we can sit down and discuss. So if we discuss and come out with a reasonable figure that is sustainable, maybe we can also be part of talking about the minimum wage. But as of today, Benue State is number 3 in terms of high salary.
There are reports that the state has tried to borrow to pay the backlog of salaries. Can you tell us the truth of the matter? Because there are several reports I read. I would like to know what the situation is in terms of borrowing to pay the backlog of salaries. Probably, are there any challenges?
Yeah, we exploited that option to see if we can borrow to pay. But you know, we have to borrow when the loans are friendly, especially the a moratorium if it is reasonably spread to years that will not affect our location in terms of paying the current wage bill. So it is a challenge. That option is being exploited, but we have specifically made up our mind that if we have the opportunity of bailout or Paris Club, as we are expecting, all this money should be channeled towards depleting the areas that we have today in our state.
Okay, you inherited a wage bill of 8.2 billion naira from the previous administration. And I'm also aware that you received bailout fund and Paris Club refunds, 2 tranches of it. I would like to know how this money was actually spent, and probably you would explain the challenges you faced in terms of ensuring that this money gets to the appropriate quarters.
There's nothing impossible, because the good thing is I'm not just the governor that is affected by this issue of payment of salaries. We have a general chance. Several states are having the same problem, and you have gone around, you have also seen it. So we are still talking with the federal government through our leadership in the Governors Forum to see how government at the federal level, if there's a way they can come and support us to surmount this, because it's a big challenge when your governor and your workers are not being paid, and it's difficult to save your face or sleep well when you feel that people who have needs and are expecting payment at the end of the month, they are not paid. It's a pain in the heart as far as I'm concerned. So we are doing that, and if there is any option that is within the legal means, we're willing to source money to sort out this.
And that's all we can take on today's edition of the program. Join us next week for a fresh edition of the show. I am Sharon Ijason. Thanks for watching, and remember, labor creates wealth.